Hi again, everyone. Gary Digit Williams here on Boxing Law on the Beltway, our news and notes for this week. And we are getting ready for what is going to be a big night of professional boxing coming to Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. And that'll come up on Saturday, February 11th. And we're going to give you a rundown of the card on this podcast, as we promised you earlier this week. But we also will talk about some big news. Some really big news coming to the Beltway in the not distant future. We kind of touched on it a little bit. We can give you some more information about it in this podcast. Boxing on the Beltway news and notes brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief, the fast plant-based ointment, and Boxing Law on the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief. And if you go to www.freepainoffer.com and buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. Well, let's talk about the Rosecroft Raceway show. It'll be a King's Promotions card on Saturday, February 11th at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. And we have a very nice card on hand for that one, starting off with the headlining bout, an 8-round bout between Michael the Professor Fox, the undefeated super lightweight and one of our 3 Beltway boxing prospects of the year for 2016. He'll take on Trayshawn Williams of Newburgh, New York in an 8-round contest. Michael Fox, of course, a King's Promotions signee. He'll make his 3rd straight appearance as a main event boxer on the King's Promotions card. He is 12-0, 4 KOs, had an outstanding 2016. He went 4-0, 2 KOs, including a 7th-round TKO of Juan de Xavier Rodriguez in his last outing back on November 5th at Rosecroft. He had an outstanding year. He really fought well. He also had a great bout against Sumner Martin over 2016. Had a great year. He'll take on Trayshawn Wiggins out of Newburgh, New York. We said 7-2, 6 KOs in his career. And he is trying to bounce back from a 6-round split decision loss to Benjamin Whitaker. That was on April 15th in Verona, New York at the Turning Stone Casino. This will be the first scheduled 8-round bout for Wiggins, the second Beltway opponent he has faced. Wiggins stopped Kevin Womack Jr. in the 3rd round in Brooklyn, New York in August of 2015. And, believe it or not, Wiggins holds a first-round TKO victory over the now WBA super featherweight champion, Jason Sosa. We will mention his name a little bit later on in this podcast. But Jason Sosa lost to Wiggins back in September of 2010. So that'll be interesting there. So Trayshawn Wiggins, once again, his record is 7-2, 6 KOs, coming off a loss. But he could be a very interesting opponent for Michael the Professor Fox in our main event. The co-feature should be interesting as well, as Luther Lights Out Smith out of Bowie, Maryland takes on Darnell the Unknown Pierce, who has been fighting out of Frederick, Maryland, but is originally from Austin, Texas. And that'll be about scheduled for 6 rounds. Now, Smith dropped down from heavyweight. He's now a cruiserweight, and in his cruiserweight debut, he scored a vicious first-round knockout over Mike Marshall. That was on that November 5th card at Rosecroft Raceway. Pierce is 5-0, just 1 KO, coming off a 4-round unanimous decision win over Louis King on August the 12th in Verona, New York. So that should be a good bout as well. Now, Sam Crossett was scheduled to be on this card, but he apparently hurt his hand, so he will not be on the card. That bout has been replaced by Malik Jackson. Malik Jackson just coming off a win very recently. We talked about that last week. Back on January the 20th, he is now fighting out of Accokeek, Maryland, and he is 2-0, both his wins by KO. We don't know who his opponent will be yet, but he is going to be on this card. Also on the card in the 6-round bout, it'll be Marcus the Dream Crusher Bates out of Washington, D.C. He's a featherweight, undefeated, 5-0-1 with 4 KOs. 5 KOs, actually. It should be 5 KOs. He'll be taking on Alec Christopher McGee out of Reno, Nevada. He is 2-0, won both bouts by unanimous decision. Bates is coming off a 6-round TKO, a very impressive 6-round TKO or a very tough Francisco Murdo on that November 5th card. And Bates is also a signee of King's Promotions. So that should be a good bout as well in 6 rounds there. Now, let's go to the 4-round bouts. One of the 4-round bouts will be an all-DC affair as Tariq IGB, I Get Busy Irby, will take on Lamont White. And Tariq Irby made his pro debut after an outstanding amateur career. He was in the Olympic trials. In fact, he was the first boxer from the Beltway to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials. He also went 2-1, I believe, in the World Series of Boxing. And he made his pro debut on September 30th at the Sphinx Club in D.C., scoring a first-round knockout over Marquise Johnson. White is 0-5, won no decision. That no decision came in his last bout back on December 2nd in Lincoln, Rhode Island. The bout was stopped because of an accidental headbutt in the 3rd round. White also fought on the November 5th Rosecroft card, lost a 4-round unanimous decision to Greg Outlaw. And we'll talk about Greg Outlaw because he's also on this card. And we'll talk about Greg in just a second. An all-Beltway card in the 4-round. Actually, let's talk about Greg Outlaw now before we go any further. Greg Outlaw out of Bowie, Maryland, 1-0. He'll take on Kashawn Hutchinson out of the Bronx, New York. His record 2-0, 1 KO. Kashawn Hutchinson is originally from Reading, Pennsylvania, which is the home base for King's Promotions. But apparently, according to the updated information we received, he is now fighting out of the Bronx. And he, again, is 2-0, 1 KO. Greg Outlaw, 1-0. And, of course, that one win coming over Lamont White in a unanimous decision. Outlaw won by shutout, 40-36 on that card. Patrick Rivera will be on the show. New Era Rivera out of Edgewood, Maryland. He'll take on Gregory Clark out of D.C. Rivera is 2-0, 1 KO, coming off a 4-round unanimous decision win over Hakeem Atkinson. That was on that November 5th card at Rosecroft. Meanwhile, Clark lost his pro debut in a really tough bout, a great bout actually, against Stephon Morris. That was on November 12th at the Burns Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. That was one of the bouts that led to Juan Marsh and I giving that card the Beltway Boxing Card of the Year. That was one of the reasons why. It was a great bout between Greg Clark and Stephon Morris. So he's 0-1, looking for his first win of his career. Also on the card will be Akik, Maryland super welterweight Slick Justin Hurd. Of course, he's the younger brother of Swift Jared Hurd, 1-0. And he'll take on DeWand Pickney out of Hot Springs, Arkansas. He's 1-3-1. And Hurd won his pro debut in 4-round unanimous decision against Hector Mercado. That was on November 5th card at Rosecroft Raceway. And kind of an uneven pro debut. He didn't have the shine that some of the debuting boxers have. He toughed out the win over Hector Mercado. But I think he left us wanting more, and hopefully we'll get that more on February 11th. Pickney's winless in his last 3 contests. He's coming off a 4-round unanimous decision loss to Shordale Booker. That was on December 10th in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So that is the card for King's Promotions coming up on Saturday, February 11th. And once again, we'll be broadcasting live from Rosecroft Raceway. Again, we're kind of wondering on the time right now. Just check the website, Boxing on the Beltway. Check our Facebook page. Check Pro Am Fight Talk. We'll hope to have a definite time for you, and also take in consideration the fact that I'll be coming straight from Baltimore, Maryland, because I'll be the announcer for Coppin State University's basketball homecoming against Bethune-Cookman University. So I'll be heading that'll be in the afternoon, heading straight from Baltimore over to Fort Washington, Maryland for the card at Rosecroft Raceway. We'll have that card for you live right here on the Boxing on the Beltway Google app for Android. Now, we touched on this a little bit in our last podcast, but we seem to have more information about what's going on. We wondered when boxing would make its debut at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Well, there are 2 dates that we can tell you. One date looks like it is locked in. There's no doubt about it, and it's going to happen this particular date. The other date, which is actually earlier than the date that's locked in, Looks good right now, but no official word has been given on that. But let's give you the locked-in date first. That is Saturday, April the 8th at the brand new MGM Grand National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. Now, according to ESPN.com's Dan Rayfield, and BoxRec has already put this up on their website as well, the main event for that card on Saturday, April the 8th, will feature a unification title bout between WBO Super Featherweight Champion Vasyl Lomachenko and the aforementioned now WBA Super Featherweight title holder. Actually, he's the World Super Featherweight title, whatever that means. Jason Sosa. Okay? And that'll be a unification bout on Saturday, April 8th. Now, this is going to be a top-ranked card. We know that Terrence Crawford has a bout scheduled for May 20th. And that'll probably be in Omaha, Nebraska, more than likely, his hometown. But since it is a top-ranked card for the Beltway, that doesn't indeed mean that Mike, yes indeed, Reed out of Waldorf, the undefeated super lightweight contender, he'll be in his first 10-round contest on that card, April the 8th. Reed is currently ranked 6th in the world by the WBO. We'll give you his opponent in our next podcast. Now, that card apparently is locked into the National Harbor on April 8th. That we know. What we're also trying to get complete word on, and according to one camp, it is going to happen at the National Harbor. Now, we've heard other reports that it may not happen there. Even the WBC has said it won't happen there. But according to the Russell camp, they've started putting information out on it already, and they say it's a done deal. That on Saturday, March 11th, WBC featherweight champion Gary Russell Jr. will indeed defend his title against Oscar Escandón, the interim WBC champ, and that bout will also take place at the MGM National Harbor Casino. Now, the WBC may not put a statement out that the bout was going to take place on the February 18th card at the Center Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's the card that features Lamont Peterson taking on David Avanyasan, I believe his name is, for the interim WBA welterweight championship, and also Thomas Williams Jr. battling Marcus Brown in a light heavyweight bout. And also, of course, Adrian Broner is the main event on that card. But the Russell camp insists that Russell will defend his title in Oxon Hill at the National Harbor Casino. Now, again, as we said in our last podcast, if that is the case, it'll be the first time that Gary Russell Jr. has fought in his home area as a pro, which to me is just downright ridiculous. But I've said my piece on that. But that's what seems to be the case coming up at the National Harbor Casino. So that is going to be a major situation, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Our first trips to the Harbor Casino, at least my first trip to the casino, period. I've not been there yet. I was waiting for a moment like this to really make my first appearance at that casino. So I'm really looking forward to it. Whether it be March 11th or April 8th or both, we will be there. No question about that. No question about that at all. So that's the big news right now. We do have one other extra piece of news. Just found out about this today. Demetrius Ballard will be back in action on Saturday, March 11th. He'll be at the Turning Stone Casino in Verona, New York. Don't know his opponent offhand. We'll get that information to you as well. But he's scheduled to be fighting March 11th at Turning Stone Casino in Verona, New York. We also have the Silver Gloves going on in Independence, Missouri. We'll try to keep up with that. I tell you, Ringside, quite frankly, does not do a great job in updating their events. And when they get involved with a tournament, it's really hard to keep up and find out who's won, who's lost, and so forth. And, people are sending me information, but they're sending me the nicknames for some of the fighters, and some of the fighters' nicknames I just don't know. Some of the boxers' nicknames I just really don't know. So, and I like to put, if we can get opponents who they beat and so forth, like to get that as well. So as soon as we find out information about the Silver Gloves coming up in National Silver Gloves in Independence, Missouri, we'll definitely pass that on to you. And of course, the Golden Gloves are coming up in the next couple of weeks here in the area. But it's going to be a busy time. No question about that. So we hope to cover that as best we can also. So once again, Saturday, February 11th, we're at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. We have live broadcast of that card right here on the Boxing on Beltway Google app for Android. The April 8th show, I'm not exactly sure who is going to be televising that. I believe HBO works at Top Rank, so that looks like HBO's show. The Gary Russell card will be a Showtime card. That we do know. So we'll find out who does that. So once again, looks like Gary Russell Jr. will defend his title against Oscar Escandón March 11th at the MGM National Harbor Casino. And then Mike Reed will be on a card that'll feature the main event of Vasily Lomachenko taking on Jason Sosa in a unification super featherweight title bout on April the 8th at the MGM. So big things, as we said. Everybody's talking about strap season. Now that's our phrase right now. I started with Gervonta Davis and Emmanuel Alim winning their titles, and Lamont Roach has won a title now. So everybody's adopted the phrase, the hashtag strap season. This is our strap season. And we'll see if they can keep it going throughout the next few months. So that will do it for this very brief podcast on Boxing on Beltway News and Notes. Remember, Boxing on Beltway News and Notes is brought to you period, by Real Time Pain Relief, the fast plant-based ointment. And if you go to www.freepainoffer.com and buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Take care.